I'd like to welcome you all and thank you for coming. My name is Erin Simmons and I'm the parent mentor for Tiffin City Schools. And we would like to let you guys know that we are live streaming this and we will be recording it. That way those who were not able to attend this evening can still view it and get the information at their convenience. And then at the end, we will be posting everyone's contact information, and that is also on the Tiffin City School website. You can also find it there. We'll start off with each panelist telling us who they are, which building they are located in, and how long that they have been with the district. We'll start off with Sandy and work our way down.
Hi, I'm Sandy Hallett. I work for the North Central Ohio ESC. I previously was a parent mentor. I am now a family and community liaison. And we're in 8 counties, so Tiffin City is one of our counties. Here's my counterpart.
Hi, I am Amanda Gase, and I work with Sandy in the Family and Community Engagement Program. I just started with the ESC about 4 months ago now. Before that, I was a substance use treatment counselor.
Hi, my name's Jerry Nadeau. I'm the Director of Student Services for Tiffin City Schools, and I've been with the district for about 3.5 months.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Simo. I teach 2nd grade at Kraut Elementary, and this is my 32nd year, and I've been with Tiffin City for the past 22 years.
Hello, I'm Charlotte Leininger. I am an intervention specialist for the district. I've been with the district about 22 years. I was at Columbian High School for about 12, and I've moved to Noble, and I've been there about 10.
Hi, I'm Abby Musgrave, and I am a school psychologist. I cover K through 8, and this is my first year with the district.
Hi, I'm Molly Depew. I'm also a school psychologist, and I service the preschool and the high school and our Tiffin City students that are at Calvert and the School of Opportunity. And I think that's it. This is my 5th year with the district.
Hi, I'm Paula Zerm. I'm the supervisor of gifted education for Tiffin City Schools. This is my 17th year with the gifted department. I supervise the identification and services for gifted students from grades K through 12.
Hi, I'm Amber Plakard. I am district-wide. I am a literacy intervention specialist, and this is my 10th year with the district.
Hello, I'm Michelle Tuitt. I'm the Director of Parent and Community Partnerships. I've been with the district for a long time, not as long as Melissa or Charlotte, but we're just really excited to have you tonight. I just want to let you know, I will be on my phone fielding questions from Facebook, so I don't want to appear rude, but that's what I'm doing.
All right, thank you. I'd like to start off by thanking each of the panelists for attending and sharing your knowledge and your expertise with us so that we can all better understand our Student Services Department. Our goal here tonight is to go over the process of what it takes for a child with special needs in our education system. This may include, but not limited to, an RTI, 504, IEP, and a WEP. And while it may change from family to family, it is what Tiffin City Schools has to offer to all of our children. We ask that you please save your questions till the end. We have papers on the end table if you'd like to write your questions down and have them answered later. While questions are welcome, please understand that we cannot and will not be able to answer any questions about specific children. If you have a question about your child, please take a piece of paper and write that down, and we'll make sure that the correct person addresses your concerns. We have a number of people here that help your child out through your school, but you are also a valued partner in your child's education. Our goal is to help everyone understand the importance of their participation. The first step in participation is understanding the process, and that's why we're here tonight, to explain the process. The Ohio Department of Education has a saying, each child means each child. And how does that apply to us this evening? Well, we're going to talk about all the supports that every child has. They may not need every support, but they're available to those children who do need them. Here with us tonight is the Tiffin City Schools Student Services Department. They have all come to help you understand our department, how it works together to support each child. Up first tonight will be Sandy Hallett and Amanda Gase.
So hello again. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what our program even offers, because it's new, relatively new. We work through the ESC, and it's called the Family and Community Engagement Program, and it's a grant-funded program that allows us to go to each of the districts and provide support services in a lot of different ways. They realized through the pandemic that there are a lot of vulnerable youth that didn't have access to essential services related to mental health, special needs, and the list goes on and on. So our program was developed so that we can help as many districts as possible in our 8 counties, addressing specific needs different in each county. So the first initiative that we had was to develop some resource guides to help families and students navigate the numerous resources available to them in each of the counties. The second thing that we did was to develop this training called Alphabet Soup. And we'll talk a little bit about it. Today we aren't going to do the entire training because it's designed for well over an hour and we won't keep you here all night. But we're going to walk you through what it'll look like, and hopefully at the end of today you can connect with us and we can schedule a time to come back to the school and do the full training. For this training called Alphabet Soup, there are 2 versions of it that we do. The first is for parents, because we call it Alphabet Soup because in special education, there are a lot of letters and numbers that are confusing and don't make sense to everybody. Even the professionals in the field can sometimes get mixed up with all of the acronyms. So we want to normalize the process and hopefully help parents to build confidence in their ability to know what's being talked about and also advocate for the needs of their child. So some of the goals of our training is to recognize that you are not alone in the confusion of special education services. There's a lot going on and it's impossible to know everything. Also learning about some of the common acronyms and language used in special education. Becoming aware of who to contact when you have questions. So a lot of the other panelists here are here to support you in navigating all of the confusion. And acknowledge that your voice is not only valuable, but essential for your students to get their needs met. Teachers only get to spend so much time with your students, and you are seeing so much valuable information and interacting with your children outside of the school environment, and it's important to have your voice heard and know that it is valued. So when we do the full training, we talk more about this. So one of the activities that we do is, depends on who attends, but instead of worrying about remembering what each of the letters means, we play a guessing game and you get to create what that acronym stands for. Because in all reality, you don't have to memorize everything to be knowledgeable. So that's
We can have a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just to add a little personal note, I have a child with special needs. I've sat on both sides of the table, and everything that you've read and everything you've learned and everything you've seen in your child's IEP, when you're sitting across the table, you lose it all. It's so much data coming at you when you have emotions. I cry at every IEP. You missed it, Jerry. Come on. So anyway, so I get it. It's like the Bible of spec ed, and they are here to help you through the process.
Yeah. So up here, do you want to kind of go over some of the?
I mean, it's kind of a self-explanatory. I mean, you've got the literacy person down here, you've got the intervention. I mean, this is what they do, so they can delve a little bit deeper. If you want to just go through the PowerPoint and just kind of, I mean, so this is every category on an IEP. So if you have a child with a disability, this would be their category, what they qualify for educationally. These are some of the other evaluations that you can have. Extended school day, least restrictive environment, that's the goal, where to place your student. Adaptive PE, it's kind of self-explanatory. Intervention specialist, we have one up here. Occupational therapy, works with fine motor. Physical therapy works with gross motor. Related services are just all the services that encompass your student. Some that are more EMIS like terms, so. And then medical acronyms. The one thing that, you know, if I've learned anything, students can qualify medically and qualify educationally, but it doesn't mean that they qualify for both. So that's what these medical acronyms are for. And then if you have an individual with behaviors, these would be some of their assessments that are done. And then the law, which everybody has to follow.
But we're not attorneys, so we just.
Although her dad is one, but doesn't matter.
So we do include some of just the general things that you can be aware of to look into, that you can see the name of this and then talk to the special education department to ask more questions about how this relates to your child's specific needs. So again, we do this more in depth when we present the full training. We also have a version of it where we present this information to staff, and not to necessarily educate intervention specialists, but also talk about how we can bridge barriers in communication between the people who have studied this and lived this and received the education, and communicate that to the parents who are living it at home and every day with their children. And so we built this training based off of a need that was communicated to us from one of the school districts. We do that with a lot of other training ideas. We had a school reach out to us looking for educational information on vaping materials or mental health or ACEs. So we build trainings and educational material based on a district's need. So if you reach out to your district, we are here to meet your needs, which change every day. So we can do a little bit of a lot, and if we can't help exactly, we'll hopefully get you pointed in the right direction.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about what our department does. And we are very blessed in Tiffin City Schools to have a wonderful team. We have great experts in just about every area that they referenced. And our team is dedicated to making sure we continue to grow a collaborative approach with parents and other stakeholders. And so when we have representatives from the ESC and we have Ms. Simmons here, who is our parent mentor, it's a show of unity that we are all here together in order to problem solve, to provide the best educational service for all of our students. We are here tonight, though, to critically announce that we want to collaborate with parents. Parents are the best advocates for their children. And so there should not be any division between school, ESC, school, parents, school. We are here as a unified team in order to deliver an educational service that is appropriate for all of our students. And what I want to say is, please don't let the process or the language, the acronyms, be a barrier for any parent in wanting to help their child. Please come have a conversation with us. Please ask us questions. What you will find, especially with me, is that, you know, sometimes I get caught up in the conversations and I will use acronyms, and I should not do that because, again, acronyms are not always the best vocabulary to use whenever it is that we're problem solving. So please stop us. Please stop and say, could you please explain that to us? What does that mean? How does this impact my child? Those are great questions that redirect me and sometimes our team back to why we're all here at any and all meetings, regardless if they're an evaluation team report meeting or an IEP and individualized education plan meeting. The focus has to be and should be that child and what they need. So a little bit about what we do overall. In student services, we really oversee the educational programming for students with disabilities and for students that are not yet identified. So we work with all of our students who have been identified through the special education process. But we also work with students who have not been identified yet, regardless of their age, pre-K through 12. So one of the acronyms is response to intervention. And that is a general education process that is aimed at providing support for students who may not be making progress or achieving at the level that we would all like them to see. But that's a gen ed process. Our team, even though we're specifically special education in nature, we work with our gen ed counterparts as a unified front, right, in order to provide what each child needs. So we also work with English learners and provide support for English learners. We do work with students that was alluded to that are on 504 plans through the Americans with Disabilities Act. So you don't have to necessarily have a student that's identified in order to work with our department or any of the experts up here. And again, our experts range from general education classroom to intervention specialists, school psychs, literacy specialists, Title I reading programs. We'll talk a little bit about mental health and counseling because all of these services really are geared towards providing an appropriate education and meeting the needs of all students. One of the things that we do that I'm really proud of is that our education team works really closely, not only with the ESC, but we work with county agencies and we have wraparound meetings. And again, we're supporting not only the whole child, but we're also trying to support the families as well, because we critically need families to be on our team in order to have students reach their fullest potential. I encourage you to ask any and all questions. If they're specific, as Ms. Simmons said, to your individual situation, please feel free to write it down or contact us individually, as we don't want to disclose any personal information, but all general questions we're more than happy to answer. I would like just to take a minute to not only thank everybody that is up here, all of our team members who are volunteering their time. I'd like to thank Tim Weber and the tech department also for making sure that we're able to get this live stream to any and all families who couldn't be with us tonight. And again, I think that just goes to show the dedication that our entire district is forming and forging ahead in order to support any and all students. So I thank parents for being here in person and for those that are attending online. And again, please don't underestimate your participation in our team as far as making sure we move forward with the services we provide to any and all students. So thank you.
Well, as I said, my name is Melissa Simo. I teach second grade at Kraut, so I'm a general ed teacher, and I work closely with an intervention specialist at my building named Abby Keegan. So we work together, and as Jerry said, it's wonderful to have her expertise, because if I'm wondering if this child might possibly be a candidate, she has her expertise. We can talk together, we can work through that, and it's just such an amazing resource to have that available so that we can meet the needs of all of our kiddos. So what do teachers look for? So when we are getting a new class of students, of course, COVID has greatly impacted everyone. Many students are behind, and that has been a huge issue as well. So we are really on high alert looking for kids that have different kinds of needs that we can intervene and help. So we might look for a student who's exhibiting atypical needs compared to their peers. Test scores, we always look at that as maybe if they're far below average at the beginning of the year, where were they in the grade before? What write-up information in our building we receive from Washington, information about what the kids in first grade, how they accomplished, where they were at when the year ended, and so on. So we can look at all of those pieces and evaluate those. Or just in the few months that we have at the beginning of the year, if they're not making the expected growth or minimal progress, then we put some RTIs and interventions in place. If we're still not seeing progress, then we might need to go to the next step. How do we let our parents know that there are concerns? Well, the main thing is we communicate with them. We reach out to them. We email them. We call them. We send a note. I use an app called Remind, which is fantastic, that I can reach out to all my Erin. She's probably tired of all the messages I send. I'm a firm believer in more communication rather than less. reach out that way. And then oftentimes at conferences, Kraut has our conferences. I think we're one of the first buildings that kicks off the conference set. And so we are able to right away get in there with our parents and start talking about concerns and things that we have. Or we'll just set up a meeting at school at the parents' convenience. Now that we know that we could communicate with Zoom and all these other wonderful ways, as long as we are just reaching out to our parents, that's how we let them know that there are concerns. And then our first steps that we would do is we would meet as a team. As Jerry said, we would gather our troops together, sit down, talk about what works, what ideas you have, come up with a SMART goal, which is like a goal that could be attained, and then set like a timeline as to how much time goes by before we would meet again. That's kind of just the general way to explain it. Just to give you a little idea, like in our building, we have 8 second grade teachers and then 2 special ed teachers for our unit. And the classrooms are typical classrooms. This year at Kraut, our second grades are rather small, which is wonderful because we feel like we can really reach our kiddos, 19 to 23 kids, I would say. So that has been a blessing so far this year. And other things that maybe we could let you know about. I just think that this with Erin, this parent mentor meeting, I've had several of her wonderful children in my classroom, and it has been a blessing that she has come forward because we have noticed this lack of communication with our parents, and her forging ahead with Jerry and the team and doing this type of a program is fantastic. I'm just so happy that we're able to do this, and we hope that you parents will be able to reach out, communicate with us so we can do whatever we need to help all of our kiddos be successful. So please don't hesitate to do that for all of us. Thank you so much for your time.
Again, I'm Charlotte Leininger. I am one of many intervention specialists in this school district. Just like your child is unique and we need time to learn and get to know your child, you also, as a parent, need to take time to learn not only their gen ed teacher, but also their intervention specialist, because we all do things very differently from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade, but there are definitely some things that you should expect as non-negotiables, I would say, from your intervention specialist. The first thing that I would like to mention is, now I figure out why I'm sitting next to you, because the relationship between the general education teacher and the intervention specialist is very important. We work very hard together. We do what is needed for the student. And it's a team thing. So it's the regular education teacher that makes the lesson plans, that comes up with where we're going and knows the content, but she leans on the intervention specialist to say, how am I going to make this accessible to all children? And especially if it's an intervention class where there's students on an IEP there, she's really leaning on us. I always say that it's my job to offer suggestions to things. It's the reg ed teacher to be like, you're crazy, like, let's not do that. But usually, we offer very good solutions, modifications, accommodations, center games, things like that. So definitely a good relationship there. Another person or group of people that we work very well with are our instructional aides. We do have a core group of instructional aides throughout the district. That I would say that between the general education teacher and the intervention specialist, and of course the administration, we have to figure out, if I'm not with a student that needs my services, can we put an instructional aide there? Can we make sure that their needs are still being met while I'm in a different classroom? So we do have a whole core of people in our district that are the instructional aides that need to be represented as well. So some of the non-negotiables, some of the things that you should expect from your intervention specialist is that we gather the IEP team. The IEP team is, of course, the parent, an administrator always sits there, the special education teacher, intervention specialist, A general education teacher is also part of the team. We also then need to look at, does the child receive speech services, occupational therapy, PT? Is there a counselor? Who is there as part of the team? So the teams can get very large at times. Also, I know that when I was at the high school, it was a growing trend that the students sit in on the IEP meetings because they need to have their voices heard. I know that is something that does happen at the IEP meetings as a parent request when they are younger. You know, they can say, hey, I want my kiddo here. Great, please bring them in, because they are in charge of their IEP as well. They are a key player. They can tell you what best they need to be successful in the classrooms. So that is our job, to gather the IEP team, to write the IEP, and to distribute all the information to where it needs to be and filed, and to go from there. We also, as I mentioned, coordinate all of the modifications and accommodations that are in the IEP. I would say that it's a non-negotiable that when a student comes to the classroom that is on an IEP, your first person to contact would be the inclusion teacher. They're going to know that IEP inside and out. We actually then disseminate the information to the regular education teacher, because it's a lot of paperwork that we're looking at, and it's hard for them to know heads or tails what's in there, and we know what has to be in there, the accommodations and modifications that have to be in there. So we're kind of the first, we are the first point of contact on that, anything with the IEP. Like I said, we provide the suggestions to the general classroom teachers, the modifications, the interventions, the center activities. We also, that's academically, every once in a while, we get a kiddo that has some behavior accommodations that need to be made. We might suggest things like the incentives, the consequences, different things that we can do, whether they're verbal or nonverbal praise that's offered to the child. So kind of getting the regular ed teacher to think out of the box, and not to take away from the regular education teacher, because the team that I work with, they also give me great ideas that I'm like, wow, I've never done that. You know, you're calling on the whole team, as well as the parents. It is not uncommon to like, hey, listen, what is the best way to get through to your kiddo? What can they work for? What can they do? What can we get them to do here at school as well? And one of the additional things that we do is that as an intervention specialist, and I would hope any educator, we build up the kids even outside of the classroom. Whether we see the kids on the playground or in the lunchroom, in the halls, it's that smile that goes. It's that I'm your safe place, whether it's the instructional aides or the intervention teachers. If you have a student on an IEP, they know, they see you. They're like, please help. You can just see it in them. They need a break. They need some sensory, whatever it is they need. So it's like we're their safe haven in a big school. We make their big school a lot smaller. Speaking specifically about Noble, we do have a difference of classrooms in the whole district, but in Noble, for instance, we have 3 intervention specialists. We have, I'm all 4th grade, we have one that's all 5th grade, and then we have one that does 1-4, 1-5. We are inclusion, so we go in, we pull out, we team teach, we do small group, we do the testing accommodations. We also have, we house the autism unit that is relatively new to Noble. That is a self-contained unit for our students that have more severe behaviors with autism. We have an LI unit, which is low incidence students with their teacher and their instructional aides in there. Students that have a little more needs, that aren't able to spend the whole entire day out in the regular classroom. And then we also house a county behavior classroom as well that has the teacher in there with the instructional aides as well. So, and you'll see that throughout the district, there are several different placements, and that's what the team and the psychologist and the directors and the parents decide. Where's the best fit for your child? What can we do for them? So Thank you.
Hello, again, Molly and I are the school psychologists at the district. We evaluate students for disabilities that may be impacting their educational performance, and that is the step that happens before a student can be put on an IEP. We evaluate them to see if they qualify for special education services. We also help support teachers, intervention specialists with academic and behavioral interventions to help students grow and analyze their performance to see how they're growing through those interventions. We also work with the mental health team and work on crisis prevention and support students through counseling or any mental health services that they might need. Is there anything else?
So it's sometimes really hard to encapsulate our job in a few words. But so in terms of our areas of expertise, we are highly trained in interpretation of data and interpretation of the law. So when it comes to special education, there are a lot of laws, state and nationwide laws that govern what we do and what we're allowed to do. And so it's our job to interpret the data that comes to us and then interpret how that interacts with the law and what we can best do to service your child within the confines of that, and still remain compliant with all of our timelines and deadlines that those laws require us to do. We also, on top of those kind of state and legal requirements, we also get involved in a lot of different areas, including, I'm going to try not to use the acronyms, our response to intervention team. So that is, again, as Jerry had mentioned, that is a general education process, but we are highly involved in that because, again, it utilizes a lot of the resources in terms of interpreting data and finding appropriate interventions to best support children. So we get involved in those RTI teams. We also get involved in things like the PBIS team, so that's Positive Behavior Intervention Supports. And so that's more of a behavioral approach that all kind of fits under this tiered system. So you'll see sometimes these triangles that we use to describe our tiered systems of supports. We're always aiming to give each child exactly what they need. And so at the bottom of the triangle, there are things that are going to work for the majority of our students. And then up from there, as we go, those things aren't going to work for every student. So we might need to put some extra supports and services in place for those students. And then again, not every student is going to benefit from those too. So there's going to be a very select number of students that we're going to need to put our most intensive interventions in place for. So we work with that process a lot as well, just to determine what each student needs and how we can best give them that within whatever building or system that they're in. I think that's all for now until we get to some questions. Yeah.
So, like we said, I'm the supervisor of gifted education. So you might be wondering sort of how does gifted education fit into the scope of what we're talking about with student services. So I like to display charts and graphs because I'm kind of a nerd like that. And so this is a bell curve in front of you, which you've probably seen something similar before, and it represents cognitive ability. So if you would think of the center of the top of the camel hump there as the most expected cognitive ability for most people, that would be right around what we call the number 100. And my school psychologist chime in because I'm not a psychologist, I don't measure IQs. And then of course we have just about everybody in that top part of the curve is falling in the normal range. Students and adults alike who fall significantly below the average have been most of what you've been talking about today and the kinds of things and supports that are needed and the RTI and the things that. But the students to the far right on the bell curve are just as statistically different as the students on the far left. So they all fall, gifted education and special education fall under the umbrella of exceptional children. So they're the exception to what you expect. So the standard curriculum in any classroom is really geared to the top of that hump. You know, that's where most kids are going to succeed in a third grade classroom with Mrs. Simo. The textbooks are written for that group. The tests and assessments are written for that group. And then Everybody to the left and right of that hump needs some sort of accommodation or intervention. So if we go to the next slide, gifted education has its own Ohio Revised Code. So we have our own rules that we follow. Essentially, what assessments can be used in special education, it seems like it's more of a portfolio approach. We've done these things, we've tried these things, and so on and so forth. To be identified as gifted, it's a short list of assessments that the state lets us use. A student needs to hit a score that the state prescribes for us. So sometimes parents will come to me and say, you know, my student's always been on honor roll. Why haven't they been identified as gifted? But honor roll is not a measure of giftedness according to the state. Well, my student scores in its accelerated or advanced range on all of the state tests. It's not a measure. The state does not allow the state assessment as a measure of whether you can be identified as gifted. So in Tiffin, we screen all students for gifted at grades 2 and 5. All students means exactly that, all students. And Charlotte and all the other intervention specialists work in very rare exceptions when someone has written it into their IEP that they don't want to be included in that process. They work to provide accommodations. So if your student has, for example, reading accommodations, then the team at that grade level, 2 or 5, reads the accommodation assessments for the gifted assessments too, because you can be twice exceptional. You can fall on both the left and right side of that bell curve, depending on, and we have quite a few of those, across the state all the time, depending on what the students' needs are. One thing that's different for gifted education are, instead of an IEP, it's called a WEP. It's a written education plan. They tried to make it sound a little similar so that it would feel like it had some weight. There are specific protocols in place about what can count as a gifted service and what can't count. We service probably just about 100% of our students identified as gifted all the way through grade 8 through honors programs, acceleration, single subject acceleration. A lot of the students at the high school level start to not receive services by choice. So they go to Heidelberg maybe and take a CCP course, but it doesn't count because it's not in the area of gifted identification, that kind of thing. So we do service the vast majority of our gifted students. And let's see. Oh, and the last big difference is in Ohio, once a student is identified as gifted, that designation, that identification stays with them forever. So the goal of gifted education is to continue to push the child towards the highest level of potential. So for that reason, once identified, always identified as gifted.
Hi, again, I'm Amber Plikard, and I am district-wide intervention specialist, a literacy specialist. So on top of being an intervention specialist, I became a certified Orton Gillingham teacher. So this year, I am providing a lot of supports for students and teachers in our shift from a balanced literacy approach to the science of reading approach. And with that, I do a lot of tier 3 supports. So I know Molly and Abby were talking about that response to intervention tiers. So I work with the smallest amount of kids who just need a little bit extra supports at the very top. So, and I do that in multiple buildings in our district. Actually, I think every building of our district. And then I also will be assisting with the new dyslexia legislation that will start next year. So I will be helping with doing the dyslexia screener and looking at that data. And this year we're really helping, I'm really helping with the teachers with looking at their data and seeing where their students might need some extra supports to help those beginning readers. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I want to say hello to all of our Facebook viewers. We have had about 30 people sign on, so everybody wave to Facebook. And I'm writing your names down because we will be reaching out to you. And so I also want to just take a minute and thank our people who are here, who came and are sitting here. You represent pre-K to high school. And everything in between. And so I just appreciate you guys coming on out and just being here tonight, because it's hard sometimes to come out and ask people questions. You don't know what questions to ask, and you really don't know if you want to hear the answers. So for you to be here, it's very brave. Again, my name's Michelle Tuitt, and I am Director of the Parent Community Partnerships. And so I work with the parents, which is why I know most of you out there. You're my people. I just help with getting referrals to additional assistance. So regardless of where your student falls on the two different spectrums or typical or wherever they might be, I am the person that you can call or reach out to if you need different resources for food or an advocate. If you need someone to just bounce questions off of, or you need someone to help you navigate through that whole educational process, that's me. I'm all of us, I just kind of want to echo what Jerry had said earlier. We are very fortunate. And as you've heard these people talk, we're very fortunate to have the hearts and the minds that we have here at Tiffin City Schools. Every single person on this panel is truly an advocate for your student. They want what's in the best interest of that. I just kind of want to piggyback also on what Jerry said. We are your partners in education. We want to make sure that we are not putting any barriers up, not producing any obstacles. We are here for you and for your children. Does that mean we're going to agree on everything? Probably not, but we're going to have some really good conversation as to why those differing views might be there, and we're going to work through it until we get to where we need to be for your kiddo. The other thing that I just want to share is that IEP is a living document. It's not just a once a year time of thing. Anytime that you have a question about that IEP, you reach out to your intervention specialist and say, I have a couple questions. Can the team get back together again? Absolutely. They will set that up for you, and we will have another meeting. The other piece of it is, as Jerry said before, just tell us to stop. We get going on a roll and we start talking, we start using these acronyms. We might just be talking at you. And so we need you to say, hang on, I don't understand. Can you explain this differently? Can you use different terminology? That's what we need you to do, because we get on a roll. And every single person up here would thank you for helping us stop and to be more mindful. Anyone that's on Facebook, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below and we will answer those. And I'm going to bounce it back to you.
Actually, I'm going to bounce it back to you. You are speaking for Jill Miller. Explain her role.
Which is why I took her slide out. But Jill Miller is our social district worker, our district social worker. It's late. Our district social worker, and she partners with me. We work on mental health services for all families, and we also make sure that there are just no obstacles or barriers. You can reach out to her, and we work in tandem. We just want to make sure that the mental health piece is there, the social emotional piece for your student is intact, because sometimes it's just hard being a kid, and sometimes you just need to know that you're normal and that life's hard, but we're here to help you. Just as Charlotte said, she makes the big school smaller. We see those faces. We can relate. We know what's going on, that they need just a little bit more help. And that's every student. That's not students that are just on WEPs or students who are on IEPs or students who are on 504s. That's everyone. Everyone who's sitting in this room. Sometimes we just need a little grace to get through our day. And so that's what Jill's main focus is. And we're really happy to have her here in our district as well. Now I'm going to bounce it to you.
Thank you. And then back to me. I am the parent mentor for Tiffin City Schools. And what that means is I am a parent to children with disabilities. I am one also who has had two children who were identified as gifted. So I've been on both ends of the spectrum with my children. I have two that were gifted, two with specific learning disabilities, which is dyslexia. And then I also have a child with severe nonverbal autism and a child with mild autism. So I've sat in a lot of different positions, a lot of different IEP meetings, and they're tough. As a parent, not many of them do I get through without crying. They're emotional, they're overwhelming, and my role is to be there if you would like me to at your IEP, to be there for support, for guidance. I can also talk to the school to help them out if you're having any issues. So maybe you're not understanding why your child's been in RTI for 3 years and you want some answers and you don't feel like you're getting them. You can call and talk to me, and we can approach the school and say, hey, what's going on? Why are things not moving forward? I can help with that support, finding resources. I can say, okay, you know what? This is a Michelle Tuitt problem. Let's contact Michelle Tuitt. Or you know what? Sandy Hallett has that resource. So I help point you in the direction to find the right resources so that your family can thrive. I've worked very closely with almost everyone up here, and I want to tell you they are very dedicated to helping your children. All you have to do is ask. And if you don't feel confident enough to ask maybe one of them, I'm here for that reason, so that you can come to me and know I've been in your shoes, I walk in your shoes right now, and I want to help you. And that's my job right here. And we'll get to the specifics. That's what all of them have. My job is to be here for your support, however that may look to you. And then we're going to find the resources and the answers that you need. I just ask you, please, if you're having an issue, come to one of us up here, because we do want to address those issues. We want to move forward in a positive direction and make you feel like you're a part of the team, because you are a very valuable person on that team. So that's my role here. Next, we're going to go over to Jerry for closing comments.
Thank you, Aaron. So before I start kind of wrapping this up, one of my goals that was reinforced tonight by Michelle, thank you, Michelle, is that we need to eliminate the word just from our vocabulary. I hear Michelle say, well, I'm just this and I just do this. And I hear some of our teachers and our school psychs, and I'm just a parent mentor, or I'm just a parent. Nobody is a just. We are all valuable, and everybody brings their expertise to the table to problem solve for our students, and they are all our students. Your children are our students, and you have to become part of our family and part of our team. So one of the things we're going to do moving forward is not say just and minimize anybody's participation at the table. Everybody that comes to the table is valuable and has expertise. And we really need the parents to understand that. We want to hear your voice, right? We want to work collaboratively. Michelle said it very well. We come to things with different viewpoints, with different experiences. I'm not a school psych. I'm not a literacy specialist, but we have those experts on our team for a reason. One of the benefits of my job is that I'm surrounded by experts. I don't have to have the answers, because everybody up here, our ESC partners, Aaron Simmons, you as parents, we have the answers collaboratively, but there's not one person that's going to know everything. So please feel comfortable in being vulnerable and coming to us. Just as our teachers, myself, anybody who comes to an IEP meeting needs to feel vulnerable and say, I don't have the answers, but we're going to figure it out together. There's nothing wrong with us saying we don't know just yet. And I shouldn't use just. I just caught that. We don't know yet. So again, just to kind of wrap this up, I'm going to speak for Aaron just for a minute, is that this is our first meeting. It will not be our last. We are committed to growing this group, whether you join us on Facebook Live or you join us in person. We have plans for the future. We're going to have several more meetings this year, and we already have plans. Aaron's done a great job. We already have plans for next year. And so what the goal of this group is, it's not only to educate and to come together as teams, it's to also bring in experts from outside of Tiffin. If we know that there's an expert out there in a certain area that we have a need in, we want to bring them to this group and be able to start to learn from others. Because again, all our job is to continue to grow to benefit our students. So please understand, we appreciate you giving your time, participating. We encourage you to reach out to us, and we encourage you to come back again, because this group will only continue to grow, and it is not going to end. It's only going to continue to get better throughout this year and also throughout next year with some of the plans that we have. And if you have any other suggestions, please let us know. last thing I'd like to wrap up is I really want to thank everybody who is up here for giving their time, their knowledge. Part of my direct team may not have known all that was going to be required of them, like maybe sitting up at a table in front of a camera. And they did it graciously, and I thank them. I also would like to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Richards, our superintendent, who was, he's a huge supporter of this group and for what we do and for including our parents in our decision-making. Connie Acton is in the audience, so Emily Bogard, they're part of our team that Emily couldn't be here tonight. And I need to also, as well as I thank everybody up here, I need to thank Abigail Young as well for making sure that I had the information that was required. Without Abigail, she is really the face of our Student Services Department, along with our team up here as well. They really help all of us function to do the best we can for your students. Is she watching? Thank you, Abigail. We appreciate you, and we appreciate all the members of our team and our district, but more importantly, we thank our parents. You entrust us with your children, and we take that very seriously, and we want to do the best that we can for them. So we continue to ask for your support and to join us as teammates so that we grow together in our journey of education. Thank you, guys. Travel home safely and have a great evening. Oh, questions?
I have just one more thing to say, Mr. Nadeau. And now I forgot what it was. Please hold us accountable. Please hold us accountable. At any point that you think something is just not right, just ask us a question. And now I'm just making fun of what he said. But ask us, hold us accountable. We need to be held accountable because sometimes it's just not right. It's not right. Before we go into questions, Erin, can you just explain this next event that's going on? Because I know that some of these parents will really want to be there.
Yes. All right. So we just announced myself and the other parent mentor, Paula Fry. We are putting together a Sensory Santa workshop. We are inviting all of the schools at the NCO-ECS services, which is 15 districts. We're inviting all of their children to come out, and we're going to have 4 rooms. We have lots of activities. We also have a quiet room, so those kids who need that calm down, quiet environment. We're going to have Santa Claus there and take pictures. We're going to have activities and snack, and we're going to have many of these people up here have been participating in helping me pull this together. And that will be December 11th at the NCO-ESC from 1 to 4 p.m. So look for those invites. It is RSVP. We would like to know how many children to expect. So it's going to be a really great event. I'm very excited about this. So please come out and see us. Thank you. Now we can open it up to questions.
Miss Connie, are there any questions out there? She's like, please don't call on me. Okay. And that's one thing that, Erin, you probably want to touch on a little bit, is that there could be some questions that people need to ask, but we want them to come up to us afterward. And if we don't have the answer for you, we'll get you in touch with the person who does have that answer.
And your questions don't have to be tonight. If you go home and you think of something, or you're on Facebook and you think of something, our contact information has been put up. Look us up. We will answer your questions. If you don't know who to contact, you can get a hold of me, your parent mentor, and I will let you know, hey, this is the person you need to talk with, and this is what we can do. No question is a stupid question. We want to help you understand this process. So it can be a very basic, simple question. I might have the answer and say, oh, this is what we need to do, or this is the information you need. Or it may be a more complex question that we need to pull in one of our experts up here from, and we'll get you the answers. Please do not be afraid to ask the questions. We want you to participate in this process. And it's a long process. It starts for some of us at birth. Some of us don't start until 2nd or 3rd grade. Some of us have adults, children, who are still facing some issues, and it'll be a lifelong struggle, and that's okay. We want you to be equipped with your tools that you need to make your child successful. And you may need help yourself, and many of these people up here can get parents the resources that maybe they need so that they can take better care of themselves. They need some self-help also. As parents with special needs kids, we tend to forget ourselves, and I know I'm also very bad at that. So a lot of these people up here can help you to succeed here in your school and in your community. So, Michelle, do we have any Facebook questions?
We do not, but we have some really, quite a few people that have been on. I'm writing just lists of people. So as you said, if there's any questions, they can comment, they can reach out. There is our phone number for Tiffin City Schools. If any of you know Kelly and Pat, they will know how to find us for sure. And then Sandy, Amanda, and Aaron, their information is right there. Again, if you just call that top number, we can get you into touch with anyone. And most of you know me, so just email me. You probably have my cell phone number. Text me. I will get you in touch with whoever you need to be talking to.
All right, well, with that, I believe we will go ahead and wrap it up. I appreciate those of you who showed up this evening and those who tuned in on Facebook to watch this. We appreciate you taking the time to help us help your children. And thank you to those people who will watch this later on if they couldn't be here. Again, any questions, please reach out to us. Thank you. Have a great night.